back, and I'm back with another repair video. As you can see, my steering link is broke here because the front bearing carrier broke on my Gravedigger Stampede. So what I'm going to show you is, once again, we're going to do another maintenance video with RPM products, and I'm going to show you how to replace this front bearing carrier on your Traxxas Stampede or other Traxxas 2-wheel drive vehicles. They're all set up the same. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this front tire off. Then once we get this front tire off, that'll have it all opened up to everything we need to get to on the truck. Now, I have changed the caster blocks on this, and I highly recommend, and I should have done this the first time, when you change your caster blocks, to do these bearing carriers at the same time, because they're connected together, so it's almost like I'm doing this twice. So I highly recommend you guys do that first time around, so you don't have to tear it all apart like I am and doing it again. Now that we're taking the wheel off, I'm going to go ahead and take that off, set it underneath like I normally do. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this here and show you guys real quick what it would look like if it wasn't broke. Basically, it would look just like that. Basically, it snapped right at the carrier. So what you got to do to take it out is you got to take the screw out here, the shoulder screw right here out, and of course the screw on the tie rod in. So let's go ahead and get started and get those out. Now this screw's got a nut down on the bottom, so we're going to go ahead and use our tool here that Traxxas supplies, and go ahead and put that in there. Just set it up like that. Get our drill. Now, as you can see here, this is the caster block I already changed, and then this is the steering block that I broke. Now, I also did the bearing swap already on this and switched it from bearings to bushings. So, that's the third thing I forgot. So I'm going to highly recommend when you do this, get the caster block, get the front bearing carrier, and get your bearings. And you can do this job all at once and not do it over again like I'm doing. So now, what we're going to do is go ahead and take that off. Got your pin right there. Get your pin out. Then I'm going to go ahead, push the axle out. Then I'm going to grab a Allen wrench here, and I'm going to use that to go inside and pop the bearings out. Just do the same on the other side. Now the bearings and everything are popped out. So the next thing we got to do is you got a little C-clip right there, or E-clip. We got to pop that off. That'll take the kingpin out, and then we can take that off and swap it. What I do is just take a flathead screwdriver, pry it forward, make sure it don't go flinging. Luckily, it dropped right on the table so you don't lose it. Then we're going to go ahead, flip it over, and you can see down there where that is. So we're going to go ahead and pull this apart, and I'm just going to grab that with the pliers and wiggle it out until it comes apart like that. And as you can see, I already bent the kingpin, so I'm going to bend that back straight before I put this back together. Now I got the kingpin apart, you go ahead and you just separate your caster block here from the front bearing carrier, and you can see where it snapped right there. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the new one on, and then we're going to go ahead and put the kingpin back through, and that'll put it all back together. I'm going to do that off camera because it's hard to look through the camera and do that. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like all together. Sometimes it's just easier when you're messing with pins and these little clips. It's easier to do it off camera than trying to do it looking through the camera. But that's how the caster block looks with the new RPM steering block right there. Now all we got to do is go ahead, get our bearings popped in here, and they fit a little bit tighter than the Traxxas ones. I like that. Here, after I get done, I'll show you a comparison of the RPM one to the Traxxas one, and show you where I think RPM stiffened it up and made it a little more rigid. Well, I shouldn't say rigid, a little more stronger than what the Traxxas one is. But there we go. Now we got our bearings in. I'm going to go ahead, take our stub axle, come through the back. Okay, I got the pin back up and we're going to drop it right down in there. And once again, looking through a camera, this ain't too easy. But there we go. Then I'm going to put my wheel hub back on. Now that we got it all buttoned up, we can start putting it back together. Now the first one I'm going to do is put the bottom screw in. So I'm going to go ahead and get it lined up here. Sometimes getting them lined up can be a pain. You just got to move it around until it goes in like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and slowly put it in with my electric screwdriver just because it's quicker. If you're using electric, don't over torque it. And then I get a regular screwdriver, and then I'll tighten it up the rest of the way. That way I know I don't strip it out. And there we go. Now the next one we're going to do is I'm going to do the shoulder screw for the camber link. That one you want to make sure there's a washer that goes on the other side. You want to make sure you put that back in. That helps with the suspension travel. Then get that all lined up here. And like I did when I did the original caster block video, I like screwing it in by hand first, just to make it easier. This one I'll just use a regular screwdriver on, and we'll get that tightened down. Now we got that all back together, we're going to take our tie rod in here, go ahead and stick the screw through it, get it lined up here, get the thread to start going down on it, hold it in place, go ahead and get it started here. If I can get the screwdriver in there, there we go. Before I get completely to the bottom, we got to remember we got a nut on the bottom. Put that on here. Go ahead and thread that on up. Go ahead and get our little wrench here that Traxxas supplied here. Grab our regular screwdriver. And we're going to go ahead, tighten that down. And that's all there is to changing your front hub carrier out. Now let's go ahead and compare the RPM to the Traxxas one. We've got the Traxxas one here on the left, and then we got the RPM one here on the right. Now looking at it from the side, I don't see much difference here. Looking at the side, even if you look at it this way, it don't look like much difference. But if you look in the bearing area, you can see a difference. It's a lot beefier here on the inside of the bearing area. And I think that's where RPM added strength to that. The other way they added strength to it is flexibility, I should say, is in the plastic they use, or the nylon, whatever you want to call it. They make it more flexible than what Traxxas does to keep from snapping these off. And there it is, all back together. As always, I'm not going to show you the other side because it's exactly the same as this side. But that's what it looks like all back together. Now, I'll leave links down below in case you guys don't have a hobby store by you like I always do to Amazon. So, if you guys need to pick these up for your Stampede, Rustler, basically all the two-wheel drive Traxxas trucks use about the same parts from RPM. I'll leave that link down below so you guys can just click on that and get it off of Amazon. Well, that's all I got for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.